Hello, welcome back to The Young Voter. Now, today, a piece of news really went viral across the internet, political news, and it's regarding the Kentucky Senate race. Now, last night there was a debate between the two candidates, Rand Paul and Jack Conway, and before the debate, a liberal activist from MoveOn.org, her name is Valle, she's 23. She was approaching Rand Paul to present him with some sort of mock award, I guess. And a group of Paul supporters grabbed her, wrestled her to the ground, and Tim Proffitt, who was a county volunteer for Paul in Bourbon County, stomped on her neck, I guess. And multiple videos of this circulated immediately. They were posted on YouTube, across the internet. You can find a link to one of these videos in the description of this video, and you can judge for yourself if this is over-the-top violence. I mean, they took her, they wrestled her to the ground, and this guy stomped on her neck and head. It looked very scary. It looked like they were trying to subdue someone who was riding. I mean, this woman had just approached the candidate. She didn't hit him, she didn't do anything. But I guess they didn't like what she did. So by midday Tuesday, a criminal summons was posted for Mr. Proffitt. So Mr. Proffitt has been dismissed from the Paul campaign, according to a spokesman for Rand Paul, and all his associations with the campaign are over. Now that's good, and Mr. Paul has come out and denounced the violence, so has Jack Conway and MoveOn.org. Ms. Valle was treated for a sprained shoulder and a concussion. So this was no small deal. I mean, this was pretty, she was beat up, basically. Now, I'm going to analyze this from a nonpartisan perspective, because this is not really a partisan issue. I mean, if you're a liberal, you're more likely to say, perhaps, hopefully you're not, perhaps you're more likely to say, conservatives and the Paul campaign, they're all for beating women and being violent and intimidating people. They're the campaign of intimidation. And conservatives will be like, she's an extremist. She's a professional agitator. At least that's what Rush Limbaugh said. Rush Limbaugh said he didn't condone the attack, but he called her a professional agitator who had this sort of thing coming to her. I mean, come on. Even if you're an agitator and you're trying to present someone with a mock award, and I understand that's offensive and everything, and I understand if people are going to grab her and maybe pull her away from the guy, from Rand Paul or a political candidate. I mean, that's understandable. But when you wrestle her to the ground and then you stomp on her head, I mean, that's taking it over the top. Okay, and that I would say that about whether the campaign is for a Democratic candidate, for a Republican candidate. This is not about the individual campaigns. I mean, the Paul campaign had nothing to do with this. It was a group of Paul supporters who wrestled her, and one of them stomped her in her head. Now, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the kind of things people are doing nowadays. I mean, would this have happened 10, 15 years ago? In the 2000 election, did we hear people getting beaten up because they were trying to perhaps even heckle a candidate, or maybe, go up to him and confront him on some issues or talk to him? I don't know. But I don't think these sort of things were happening. And it just shows the great chasm that has emerged between the opposite poles of the country. I mean, liberals and conservatives. I mean, and I hope there are still people in the middle, but at least they don't get as much press. I mean, certainly now, these people, these conservatives who saw this liberal, or I guess maybe she had to move on to a t-shirt or something, and, we have to beat her, we have to get rid of her immediately. I mean, come on, this is about human decency. And also on the liberal side, I mean, people shouldn't vilify the opposition. I mean, if they have some crazy ideas, or some ideas that are kind of wacky, yeah, call them out on it. But don't start shouting epithets or beating someone up. I mean, come on, this is violence. We're trying to be civilized here. And people in this country are just going at each other, and it's really disheartening. One would hope that we would have learned some civility, but it just seems that politics gets dirtier and dirtier, and with each day there's an escalation in the rhetoric and the violence and the partisanship. I'm just now analyzing this incident from a human rights perspective. I just want human dignity to be respected. Yes, I mean, maybe restrain the lady, but don't throw her to the ground and stomp on her head or neck. I mean, come on, don't give her a concussion. I mean, that's just not cool. It's not that it's not cool. That's harmful, and I mean, it's criminal. Apparently, I mean, he has a criminal summons. So people just need to, I think, really tone down the rhetoric. I know there are big ideas on both sides, and people feel as if the end is coming if the other side is going to win. Okay, maybe you think that, but tone down your rhetoric and certainly don't encourage violence. Now, certainly this shows that there are people out there who are willing to resort to violence. This group of Paul's supporters, perhaps they weren't out like, oh, let's see a liberal and beat her up. But when in the situation, when faced with the situation, they acted in the way they did. And that's not really a testament to their vileness or their particular contempt for human decency, etc. It's just that the campaigns have gotten so harsh and so negative that at a certain point you view the opposition not really as human beings anymore. I mean, maybe that's a stretch. You view the opposition as if they're not worthy of respect. I mean, maybe you don't agree with her ideas, but don't beat her up. I mean, that also makes you lose credibility. And people then will look at you and be like, oh, those people who support Rand Paul, they're all violent. And that's not true. I'm sure that the vast majority of people that support Rand Paul and that support Jack Conway are people that are non-violent, okay? They might not be centrists or independents, but they aren't violent. They aren't so aggressive. Or maybe the country has been politicized to the point and the partisan divide has been sharpened to the point that people are willing to go to these extremes, or that they go to these extremes without even realizing it. I mean, maybe in the heat of the moment, Mr. Prophet didn't realize what he was doing in stamping on our head. I really don't know. What I do know is that we need to say no to this. We need to prevent this. We need to stop looking at this from a partisan lens. This is about human respect and human dignity. If you're trying to stop someone from heckling a candidate, don't beat her up. Pull her aside, but don't wrestle over the ground and stomp on her head. If you're trying to have a conversation with someone, don't call him the Antichrist. Don't call him the angel of death. Okay? Call him out, call out his ideas, but don't say he's evil and out to get you. I mean, maybe he's a little wacky. I mean, crazy, that's debatable whether you can use that. But let's try to tone down the partisanship. And it's hard because people are genuinely scared. People have become scared to the point that they think that if the other side continues running things, or if their side gets back into power, whatever. I mean, they think that if the other party gets back into power or gets power, the world is going to come to an end. And it's not going to happen. I mean, you need to tone down the rhetoric. Extremists are a small number, but they just prove that the rhetoric can get so strong. I don't think Mr. Prophet is, or I don't know, but I suspect he's not an extremist in the sense, I don't think he's, a member of a hate group or someone who is completely conservative on every issue. I don't know, but I don't think he's necessarily an extremist. He's just someone volunteering for the campaign. But even he is trapped in this paradigm of partisanship and rancor, and we need to try to put it to an end. So it starts with you, and it starts with the tone you adopt when talking to your friends. And when I talk to you, I'm going to try to subdue my tone if it's been out of hand or it's been harsh, because these incidents teach us a lesson that we need to calm down and try to move forward, debating the issues and not getting worked up about things. The world isn't going to come to an end if the other side wins. All right. Thank you again for watching The Young Voter.